Here at the state level, free school lunches, of course, have never been free. They are just taxpayer-funded school lunches. And that is why your ballot this year asks you two questions about how to keep funding them. Our Marshall Zellinger looks at the math.
Consider Proposition LL as fixing an oops. Not an intentional oops, more like it's hard to estimate money into the future oops.
The state constitution requires the Blue Book Guide to estimate how much money a tax change will bring in for the state. When voters were given the Blue Book in 2022 for Proposition FF, the original Healthy School Meals for All, they were told it would bring in $100.7 million in the first year. It brought in $112 million. Plus interest, the state took in $12.3 million more than voters were shown. With Proposition LL, the state is asking permission to keep that money. A no vote means that money needs to be refunded back to the taxpayers whose taxes went up because of Proposition FF. Those are the 192,000 taxpayers who earn more than $300,000, which brings us to Proposition MM. In 2022, when voters approved higher taxes for those earning more than $300,000 to pay for free school meals for all, it turned out to not be enough money for everything Proposition FF promised because of the number of students who took part and because of food inflation. FF promised school meals for all, raises for school cafeteria workers, locally sourced foods, and food prep training for staff. The money FF brought in was not even enough for the school meals part. MM asks voters to increase the taxes paid by those making more than $300,000 to cover school meals for all and the other promises so far not kept by FF. A yes vote also allows money from the new taxes to help pay for SNAP food assistance for low-income families. Colorado expects to have to cover more costs for SNAP food assistance because of the budget bill passed by Congress in D.C. A no vote means the taxes will not increase for those high earners. School meals will only be free for low-income students. It also means the state will have to figure out how to fund SNAP food assistance with existing state money.
In your Blue Book, it explains the different scenarios of LL and MM. If both were to pass, if one or the other doesn't, it makes for really funny math combinations, and each of the three scenarios means different things. If you want to look through the charts, it's a bit complicated, but I think I've summarized enough. I'll say I talked to budget people, Kyle, who tell me that even with the new money in MM, it's possible all the promises of FF into the future might not be fully funded.
I will say I understand why the adoption rate, the number of kids opting in for this, is high now that I have two kids in school and they're like, I want a lunch from home. And I'm like hell you are, I paid for your lunch at school, enjoy it, you know? I can't be the only parent doing that.
And that's where the math gets wonky because it's all dependent on how many people actually opt in. You can guess how many kids might accept the free breakfast and or lunch, but until you know how many did, you don't know what these districts are supposed to be reimbursed. And that's where it's going to be like this into the future.
And I will say, I also respect the fact that they didn't create a slush fund so large that it's way over demand, but obviously they came in so close to the margin, they're coming back to ask, and they may have to ask again.
Right, it's even in the Blue Book that says if MM is underestimating and they bring in more money, like in the future, we're going to have another one of these, oh, we got $8 million more than we thought, we have to ask your permission to use it.
Yeah, and in the meantime, the Clark girls better be jazzed about whatever's on that school menu 5 days a week. Marshall Zellinger, thank you.